Hello, once again. This is Street Yan's podcast, and it's your boy Ade Boy. And joining me today is, as usual, Emmanuel Ade and Dayo Olamide. Today we'll be talking about this ministerial list issue. Everybody's talking about the ministers. I think one of the reasons that it is a major issue right now is, remember 8 years ago, was it when President Muhammadu Buhari got into office? It took him a very long time before he told us who his ministers would be, or he appointed any ministers. And people were asking questions, what's going on? And this time around, the current president has decided to be more proactive in decision making and decided to appoint ministers within the time frame that was given. And we saw the ministerial nominees. They went to the Senate for their confirmation. And recently, they were given portfolios. But within all this, a lot of issues have come up. Questions have been raised about the preparedness of this government, the names that were selected initially, controversy that rocked the removal of somebody's name, and things like that. And on the other part of it, the issue of ethnicity too has come up, with people from one region claiming that they were not duly represented in the ministerial list. They're asking for further character to be reflected on the ministerial nominees list. And so all these issues we're going to be talking about today. And so let's just jump right in. Ade, you have the floor.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Initially when we all started up, we felt okay. Things are looking nice. Baba came in, hit the ground running. There was a lot of buzz boost, scattering this, scattering that. I hereby annoy this, I hereby annoy that. I hereby do this, I hereby do that. Well, at the very, very, very moment that we are, there's a need to, should I say, question or look at things clearly again. We've had a lot of hypes, and I think it's that period of the governance now where we have to come and check if we did cross the T's before or we did dot the I's. Like, excuse me, sir, what really is going on? Why are we having one person going in and out, having two positions when they could have just had one, or had one and then now having another one? Is it that there was a mistake with what they were given before, or they could not actually run that post? And then we have to be looking at, is it that they were choosing by their quality, or this is just paddy governance? What really is going on? And then we would have to look at people where we actually expected would be in governance, and for some reason they are not even showing up at all. And we thought these guys would actually be good for this government and make things work better, because we've seen a little or more from what they've done in the past. And most importantly, one of the things I feel we should actually look at also, or we should ask Mr. President, is what actually went down with the auntie that just got booted off from the list. Was that a gimmick to bring in the new guy? I mean, what?
Honestly, there's so much talking points that I'm sure we will not be able to run through everything on this episode, but obviously we'll try our best to cover as much ground as we can. So, okay, now the first thing that comes to my mind, because I'm trying to think about all these things from, how these issues started evolving. Dayo, I'm sure you must have heard the initial selection of the National Security Advisor, Ribadu. He was initially selected as this senior special advisor on national security. A few days later, they changed the title to National Security Advisor. That was still there on one side, because within that short space of time that they changed the title, people were asking questions. Wait, is this person going to be functioning as the NSA, or is it going to be, is it an entirely new role, or things like that? Then recently, Dele Alake, that was selected as a senior special advisor, suddenly found his name on the ministerial list. In fact, in addition to that, a sitting senator too was appointed, or reallocated a post in the cabinet I think the signs even started from the current what's his name, Bajabia Miller, who ran an election. Maybe because maybe they wanted to play it safe that in case we don't win, we don't lose on two sides. Because I'm sure they had it in mind to make him the uh, chief of staff. But he ran the election, won, he used resources to do all that, and then he was appointed as the. So my question here, Dayo, and the way I'm seeing this thing is, and I don't know if you share the same opinion, is there seems to be a lot of last minute changes to decision making for a government that one of the major things that Tinubu talked about when he was campaigning is he was going to hit the ground running. He knows the job. We should not pity him. He gave us this idea that he understands the assignment. He is prepared. But it's almost like when you get into an exam hall that you claim you are prepared for. You are right. You are answering questions. Suddenly you just cancel everything again and ask
And
for a new sheet of
also
paper
another question.
and you start rewriting it. And although good
Mm.
enough, there's still time to make changes. But Dio, do you share my perspective, or do you have a different perspective in terms of is this government prepared? Are these signs worrying signs, or is still early? We should just let it go.
I buy your idea at this point, because for a president that gave us the initial that proposed to us that he knows what he's going to do, and from the onset, I think he said hit the ground running. He was working, and now he's now choosing his ministers. First of all, gave us the ministerial list at first, and now you're reshuffling it, changing the name. To me, it seems disorganized. I don't know how the criteria for picking the ministers and stuff, but I believe it is supposed to be on their credibility and their past qualifications. But right now, I feel like this method of selection is based on nepotism, and it has always been the typical Nigerian system. It's based on who knows who. When you are under my people, my cabal, and all, because changing the name all of a sudden, it's just and also changing, reshuffling them doesn't even make sense at all.
Because at the end of the day, you think that you already know who your people are. You already know Tinubu and Dele Alake have been together for a very long time. I'm sure while they were preparing for the election, maybe I don't want to believe that didn't know they will win, right? There must have been conversations about, okay, what do you want to, what do I want to make you when I
When
win?
I get there,
And then, so when the decisions are made, I don't think Dele Alaki was in a hurry to just start getting salary. So he had to just get one quick post.
imagine.
And then suddenly, you have to now wait. Okay, maybe special advisors. Maybe let's move you to minister instead of advisor, because
You
maybe
know,
advisor is more senior to the minister or something. I feel
you
like
know,
those things should have been
it's
planned out
somehow.
from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Ade, thank God you mentioned, in your intro, you talked about someone being booted out. Miriam Shetima, her name was on the ministerial list. And then suddenly, like 2 days after the list came out, we heard that she was replaced by one Maria Mahmood. And then Festus Kiyamo's name too was added to the list. Like, the shocking part of this for me is the national chairman of the party came out to say, me and the president do not know how Miriam Shetima's name got on the list. And I'm like, wait, two things came to my mind. Number one, how in the world will the president and the national party chairman not know how a name got on the
Got to the
ministerial
list.
list? If they don't know how a name got on the
Yeah,
ministerial list, how are they going to be able to know when a terrorist cross our border?
as in, as in,
That
you
is
know,
number one.
these things. To me, I just believe it's still based on their impunity. They just believe that they can sell us anything and we'll buy it. And because from the onset of even when they were discussing about the token for their holiday, blah blah, we heard about it. Fine. He immediately tried to change it to prayer and all. But even our hearing about it, and we know the original purpose of
Exactly.
for the token, but we can't do anything about it. They are telling us they don't know how a name got on the list. How is that even possible in a structured government? How is that possible?
Because I want to imagine that in that government, a lot of people would have checked that list, even up to the point of
Yes, it will be
Ajabi Amela that
scrutinized
went
now.
to deliver the list to the Senate. There was then no time where he looked, he went to his boss and said, let's look at this list together. These are the names there. And Babato will say, okay, yes, I see the names. Yeah, fine. Because it's not even a list of 100 people or 1,000 people. I don't expect him to know everything every time, but at least, come on, people that will be in your cabinet, you should know their names. And then that, I said, that was the first part. The second part of it is, I don't know who is handling the PR for the national chairman of the party. Like, he didn't have anybody to discuss it with that told him, Baba, don't go and say that one outside, though.
As in,
Like,
look, package another like.
exactly.
That's not that.
Like, come on. Don't
know-
come and tell us that you don't know how a name got on the list.
Boy, these things has been happening in Nigeria. We are in this same Nigeria where snake swallowed money. I know. So it's not
That's
new
so
to
true.
me. It's not new to me.
That's so true.
So they believe they can just tell us any story and we'll buy it. Even if we don't buy it, there's nothing we can do about it. So it's just like the usual day-to-day lies and all. So it's not new.
So, for Ade, do you think there's any hidden agenda in removing her from the list? Or is just a case of oversight? They didn't know, like they want to tell us.
In reality, I don't think it's an oversight. I think it's either a per choice decision. It could be two ways. A per choice decision to just disgrace this person, or it got to a point where they had to drastically make a decision. But who do we remove and put in this other person? Because if we don't,
Maybe they forgot somebody they were supposed to put.
They were supposed to, exactly. This set of people from this geographical location will take its hard on us. So who can we put out? So okay, let's just remove this person and put in this. This one will still work if we remove this person. So let's just remove this person and bring in this person. So it's one of those
chance that she's a scapegoat or something.
Thank you. It's one of those two for me. Is it that they purposely just wanted to disgrace her, or it just happened that she's the weakest link? Let her go.
Yeah. Another school of thought argues, unverified, of course. It might be me, Montoso. but really, an unverified source claims that there is a maybe power struggle between the person in question and some other person, and so it was almost the case of "I'll show you," and she was shown. Power eventually manifested, and eventually
finally came out.
But really, I feel like it still comes back to this question of lack of preparation. Honestly, I wouldn't have been on this issue much if it was just any random person. Like the APC has been in governance now, they've done 8 years. Now they are transitioning. It is one of those simple government transitions. Same party, just hand over power to your brother and just continue from where I stopped. You know, that kind of thing. So there should be a level of preparedness, a system in place, an understanding of, although fine, we know that names like Wike were I would say last minute names, because they end their position through their support during the election. They were not party members, right? Yeah. So it is to be expected that maybe those names would be last minute things to get on there. But at the same time, we should expect that there should be a level of preparedness. In the context of reducing the cost of governance, why are we still having 45 ministers?
Yes.
Or is it even more than 45 ministers?
Exactly, and new positions created.
New positions created.
Why?
I don't know. Is there something I'm not seeing? Dayo, like they are talking about, the masses should endure. Don't worry.
We should make some sacrifices.
Make sacrifices. But then one of the major issues that we've always talked about in this federal system of government and even democracy generally is that it is expensive. But okay, fine. It is the way to go, right? But is the government a government that is serious about cutting the cost of governance? Is it not in things like this that they can make those changes? That people too will be able to say, okay, government, their sacrifices are being made from the top?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it only from the bottom up that sacrifices should be made? Dai, what do you think?
I've always known Nigerian politicians to always go after their pocket. So even from when they were discussing about the token and all, we know those token will not be in small amount of naira. So they are always about their pocket. Creating another ministerial position or portfolio for somebody else to fill the space is just like, let me say, I'm the president now. I would like to put all my podcast member in one position. We even be planning about it before I come to position. Before I become the president, I will tell you, guy, don't worry, we go chop this money together. We are in this together. So I'll be, even if there's no space for you, we'll look for one thing to put there for you.
Winner
To me,
takes all.
yes, that's the thing. I'm not so sure of how it is done in reality, but we have seen like cinematic description of these things, like where before in a political settings where people go to lobby for positions before the election and trying to get the good face of the person about to become the president or about to attain a particular position, just to get the person's good attention. So these things happen on a normal day. They know what they are doing. They are not cutting any cost, except we're going to just deceive ourselves.
So I guess it's only the masses that should be making the sacrifices.
That's the way it has always been.
Because
Because you're telling us to make sacrifices, and you're still democracy is something that is expensive, and you're still trying to like increase the cost again by adding people to it again. So what are you cutting down any cost? You're rather increasing the cost. And these people, there will also be allowances for them.
yeah,
There will also be all these their petty monies too for them. So
policemen will be allocated to them. They'll have ADC.
everything,
They'll have
additional cost.
advisors, and they just
The
we
cost
just.
keeps on going.
Oh.
So it's just
Ade, I'm going to ask you this question because I know that your babe is from this region. So I'm going to. And now this is the question of the Southeast and the claim that they are being marginalized, right? They said the only 5 ministers were selected in the Southeast region. From my own perspective, obviously, there's a question of equity and justice on one side, but on the other side too, there's a question of politics. If you want to answer this question from the perspective of politics, you say, if you do not vote for me, why are you trying to benefit from me? But on another part of it, even if it is a small percentage of people that voted for the current administration in the Southeast, they are still Nigerians. They are still supposed to be represented as equally as every other part. Democracy allows for this. It is okay for me to say I don't want to vote for you. It doesn't mean that I should not still benefit from your government if you win. So, what is the justification for marginalizing, if I would use that word loosely, the Southeast region in terms of this ministerial appointments?
In reality, I would want to go with the concept of the school of thought that there's favoritism presently. And it's something that we see basically across all forms of government. When we have a northerner up there, we have northerners everywhere. I think the only time or part of the few times we've had lesser people from the east was during Goodluck's period. We didn't have as much easterners everywhere. Well, we had just a couple. So the thing here is, one of the things the president did was to favor more. We know we are running democracy and everything, but in reality, are we really running democracy? Because we can question everything.
Yeah.
So now the thing is, it favored more places that did actually turn up for him. Let's forget the north. We know that those ones are their bosses on their own.
You have no choice.
We don't have it. We don't have it. But it's quite obvious that it did favor more. I don't want to say it's tried, but places that did actually pull out for him, it did favor them more. And we know that these people having ministers don't mean that these ministers would actually did turn up for them. We are not sure that you having a minister from your state will mean that your minister will favor your state or will do more stuff state, or we put more attention to your state. We know how this. We know that people are naturally just either wicked or they don't fill up the necessary, what word should I use here? The necessary attention they are supposed to fill up and give to positions in which they are supposed to pull. So when it comes down to the ministers giving and the positions and the states they come from and the geographical location, one thing we would like to actually pull out is, if you like, carry 5 ministers from one location, carry 10 from one location. It is if they will do something in regards to that location that they would actually do it.
So basically, it's almost like, say, if you like, Minister of Works should come from Anambra State. It doesn't mean that it is only the roads in Anambra State is going to fix.
I'm telling you.
Do you know the funny thing that I've even noticed is that sometimes, especially when it comes to a particular ministry, the place or region where that minister represents is always the place that suffers the most from that ministry because of an attempt to not look like they are playing favorites.
Exactly.
So, but at the same time, you know, the whole essence of democracy is representation. You want to believe, you want to see somebody like you in governance. So, for instance,
exactly.
As a person from Ogun State, 3 people were appointed as ministers from Ogun State in this cabinet. On a personal note, I feel good about it that that means that there must be something unique about Ogun State that makes, thank God Tinubu is not from Ogun State. So it's probably a reflection of the fact that there are good minds in Ogun State, right? That is why so many people. So I feel like that sense of pride, apart from, even though we understand that the appointing a minister from your state may not directly bring any benefit just by that appointment to your state, but you know, for the people of the state, just knowing that they are duly represented in the federal government, that gives them this sense of satisfaction. And I feel like that is one thing that the Southeasterners are asking for in terms of, okay, yes, we know that the minister is not going to bring all the federal resources to that region, but at least let us know that there are people with our interest at heart in that federal executive council, you know. Dayo, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I believe there are also supposed to be some jurisdictions that should pertain to a certain geographical member. Like, for instance, the Minister for Niger Delta Affairs and all that was given to Momo. To me, I feel, how is he going to reach the grassroots? How is he going to tackle their problems when he's now actually like from there proper? Don't you feel that way too?
Well, I believe for honestly, in a way, for me, I understand the importance of creating the Ministry of Niger Delta on perspective of ensuring that, you know, the people of Niger. I feel like they created that ministry in response to the demands, partly in response to the demands of the movement for the emancipation of Niger Delta and all those people back then, to say, okay, we are taking major steps in taking care of your region, because we know that the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy comes from your region. So it's important to take care of that region. But at the same time, I feel like it is just creating more layers of government that may not be necessary. Honestly, I feel like the federal structure itself in Nigeria strips too much power away from the governors and the local government. And then to make up for this, you are now creating Ministry of Niger Delta and giving some of those powers and those resources to it to do what the governors are supposed to be doing. In those regions.
That's another valid point.
Yeah. So for me, the Ministry of Niger Delta already, I call it into question. I'm not saying the people should not be taken care of. I am quite sure that a lot of the ministry has helped a lot in that region. But what I'm saying is the resources being pumped into that ministry could have just been directed to the governors and the local government that will be able to fix that grassroots issue that you pointed out, Dayo.
Yeah.
Another part of it is, like you said, you pick one random person to just be Minister of Niger Delta. This is a very critical ministry. Unlike, say, Ministry of Works. We know that Ministry of Works is general. But Ministry of Niger Delta is particular to that region.
To Niger Delta.
I agree with you that it is somebody who is familiar with that region that should take that post.
Yes,
Even when it comes to the Minister of FCT, in my own opinion, I feel like the real indigenes of Abuja have been marginalized for a long time because they are not considered a state. But the reality is that is the state of origin of some people.
exactly.
Why is the Minister of FCT not from Abuja?
Hmm.
Why is he a
So,
former River State governor that is now Minister of FCT?
Minister of FCT.
The reality is that this issue is not, of course, for instance, Tinubu did not create the Ministry of Niger Delta. So it is not a problem he created. But, you would assume that, some of these things can be seen and be reevaluated.
Exactly.
But I guess for the purpose of just politics and for the purpose of saying, oh, we are doing something about the Niger Delta, there's an importance for that ministry to just exist. And then you just put someone there who does not really know the difference between Urobo and the jaw person and the intricacies of
how
their
would they even want to
communities.
listen to him? How would they
Exactly.
want to listen to
At
him?
the end of the day, so resources will just continue to get pumped into those places, and you still not know what is going on there.
What is going on?
One final thing that I want to touch on, and when I'm done, I don't know if there's other talking points that you guys want to bring up, is the duplicity of roles that seem to be prevalent in these ministries. There are almost like 3 different ministries that are concerned with the economy and development. There is Ministry of
housing and urban development.
There's a marine blue and something development. How many people are developing Gongo? What are we developing?
Oh my god! Oh my god! There's state education. There's education. It's just
what is going on, and it comes down to the same issue of we are just creating posts for the sake of creating posts.
Creating posts, yeah.
We know that, okay, right? We are in the 21st century. The development of internet and social media calls for a ministry like Ministry of Communication to include innovation and digital economy, right? Yeah, that makes sense. But now here, Ministry of Finance and coordinating Minister of Economy. What does that mean? What does that mean? And then there's Minister of Marine and Blue Economy.
Imagine.
Which one is marine and blue economy?
No, there's one for the land and there's one for the sea.
Economy. So the economy of the land and the economy of the sea has to be treated differently. Not be one economy we get for Nigeria.
And again, I just remember something like this appointment of ministers. Are they not supposed to be based on qualifications or their credibility? Because how can you call a barrister to become Minister of Aviation?
Honestly, do you know when I first saw Festus Kiamu's name on the list, when he was eventually added, my assumption was that maybe it's going to be the Attorney General. Because I felt like, he's a lawyer, he would know. But I feel like the only ministry that was given to someone who has that qualification is the Ministry of Justice. A lawyer was put there. I wouldn't have been surprised if there was a doctor that was put in Ministry of Justice.
You can't imagine.
And they will put architect in Ministry of Health.
It's misplaced priorities.
I was reading someone's post on Twitter. She was trying to justify. One thing that I say about most people is you are pro-Tinubu doesn't necessarily mean you should be blindly pro-Tinubu.
Exactly.
We are in a democracy. It is okay for you to support a government, but when it comes to politics, you want this person to win. But when it comes to governance, it is important to take a step back and evaluate things from all sides. You should be able to say the truth, even if it means criticizing the government that you support.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be blind followership. It shouldn't be blind followership. The lady was trying to justify the ministry. When they get there, they would learn. We are in a country where a lot of things are going bad, and we are still appointing square pegs in round holes that want to go and learn on the job.
It doesn't even make sense. Aren't there qualified people in that field?
Exactly, to help. Why can't an architect be the Minister of Works? Because I don't understand. Dele Alake, he's trained as a journalist. You would assume he will be the Minister of Communication or Information. He's a Minister of Solid Minerals.
You can imagine.
It's almost like the criteria is okay. Let's put our best friends in the best places.
You get that. I think that was what I was saying all through, because from the arrangements to the selection, you know that this is like so disorganized. It is
And
so
the Minister of Affairs
disorganized.
get there the first 6 months, they are still trying to figure out what do you guys do in this ministry?
How will
With
they tackle the situation
exact,
there?
and then that is how corruption prevails, because the very, very smart civil servants, the permanent secretaries, the directors in that ministry know that this person does not know the intricacies of this ministry, and that is how they are able to do a lot of things on the ground without the minister even knowing. At the end of the day, policies by the time and you want to go and do a build. Let me use an example. You want to build a bridge, and you use a banker as minister of works, and the director, the minister of works, tells him that it takes 10 hours for concrete to solidify, so that's why the bridge is not ready. Will he argue with them? They are supposed to be the professionals. He is just
Exactly. He knows nothing about
he knows
it.
nothing about it. Fine, there are always examples. Those are the examples that people like that will bring up. They'll say Shebi Fashola was Minister of Works and he did well. Yes, Fashola, they are geniuses, they are brainiacs, and they are exceptions. People like Fashola are exceptions. They are all-rounders. They are very good at everything, basically. Or at least very good at a lot of things. So they can function.
Can even take Fashola.
But you cannot say the same of
experience
just
from working
anybody.
as a governor.
Yeah, it's not a justification to just put anybody anywhere.
And he has the credibility. Do you know
Exactly.
that? He has the like during his tenure as a state governor,
We saw
he
the work he
performed
did.
well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Honestly,
that's
I
the
still
thing.
don't know. On one part, I wish Fashola's name was on the list too. But at the same time, I also understand the fact that, well, he has been governor for 8 years. He has been minister for 8 years. Yeah, fine. He can't be the only one every time. There will be
Mr.
other-
Phone Chop now. Abba.
Exactly. And you know, it's even fair to give other people a chance too. Anyway, it's fair to give other people a chance. And you know, the quota he will be taking as a representative of Lagos, I'm sure there are other people that deserve that quota too. So I guess, but I'm really optimistic that he would have a part to play in this government. Not because of my personal likeness for him. I like him a lot as a public office holder, but because I know he still has a lot that he can offer Nigeria in any public office that he may be selected for. Well, I guess we'll see. Another person that I'm still surprised about is exclusion from the eventual list is El Rufai. What is going on in that place? Like, because I know that Tinubu really likes him and has always wanted him to be part of his cabinet. So, what are the prevailing powers that are hindering him from?
Thank you. I think that's the right word, because I'm very sure there was a time we had a discussion and I kind of mentioned that with the way things are going, we are beginning to. It seems we are forgetting that there's a cabal ministry. Let me put it like that. A cabal
Ministry of Cabal Affairs.
I'm telling you, is it that the cabal ministry or the Ministry of Cabal Affairs is really stronger than the president for El Rufai not
I
to
don't
be?
understand though. I don't
We've
understand.
seen scenarios and cases where El Rufai it's like saying Simba scenario where the monkey, who is the chief priest, came and lifted Simba, you know.
And then the uncle came and said, no way.
Exactly. Who goes there? Thank you. Our president had severally lifted up El Rufai and spoken well about him and mentioned, this guy is my guy. We are working together to do this. You have to be there. Like, it's more like the government will not even run without El Rufai. Only for us to be here and be very particular.
The word on the street is that those powers that be are afraid of him. They don't want him to get into that ministry. And
we saw his live production on set during Good Luck's time now.
Dayo, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say in this matter, as citizens, we are just layman here. There are so many
There are some
things
intricacies we don't understand.
that are hidden to us that we don't even know about, and
Mm.
these are just open to the few people that are inside the system.
The
So
inner carcass.
yeah,
The
so
inner.
there are so many things
The
that could
only
have
of
happened
holies.
The only of
because he was sad about the whole thing, and he posted, or
Yeah,
I think
he posted
and they
something
were
about Bob
mocking
Marley.
him. They were mocking him. So I think
yeah, Kamara.
Shehu Sani even mocked him. So
Yeah, I
he said,
saw that.
he said I've turned you to a reggae artist because he quoted Bob Marley's lyrics. So you can imagine. So there are so many things that we don't know.
Yeah.
It can be
Honestly,
you. It can be like you. I will show you. Don't worry.
exactly.
You will not get there. So
At the end of the day, I just feel like, well, it's still early days for the government. All our arguments here, all our opinions, all our perspectives here is not to put the government down or to damn the government and say, oh, this is why the government will not work. We are all in this boat together. We are optimistic. We are positively optimistic about the government.
we pray for a better Nigeria.
Yeah. Our priority is a better Nigeria, not
Exactly.
who is in the position or who. But at the
A
end of the
working
day,
Nigeria.
the reality is we cannot just close our eyes and just hope for the best. You get, if these issues come up, we have to talk about it. Because even if we cannot, one thing that exists in democracy is that there is always public opinion. And public opinion too helps the government at times to know what the people are thinking, so that they can modify their policy or change their policy or even make policies that favor us. So that is why we are trying to add our voice to the conversation, not to damn the government or criticize the government just for the sake of it, but to just let them know, if we are lucky enough that they are listening, what our concerns are and what we hope that they're going to do. Ade, Dayo, thank you very much for joining me again on this episode. I don't know, do you guys have any closing remarks?
Okay, my closing remarks is just that we are not here to criticize. I just want to buttress what Tomi said. We are not here to criticize the government. Anyone that's been listening has been an ardent listener. They will know that we also commend the good works that they've done too.
Yes.
So it's not like we turn a blind eye to their good side.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to pinpoint some lapses and maybe help people be aware of the situation on ground.
Exactly.
And we hope and pray for a working Nigeria.
Yeah, that's the key point. A working Nigeria. Thank you everyone that joined us on this episode. Thank you our listeners. Thank you our subscribers. And as usual, please like, follow, and subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us across all platforms. Our link tree where you can find all our social media accounts is in the comment section. Thank you once again. Thank you all, guys. See you next time.
All right.